I'm just thinking again about that quotation from Henry David Thoreau from Walden, where he says, I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately. I've talked before about the significance of the woods in that, but one of the things that's just been going through my mind is to do with deliberateness or deliberation. When I think about deliberation, I think about it in terms of purposiveness and wholeheartedness and resoluteness and singularity of intention, those kind of senses. And that deliberation, that deliberateness is usually, for me at least, associated with conscious decision-making, free will, those kind of things. So if it's kind of the opposite of accidental. Accidentally doing something is when, I guess, kind of you let circumstances take control of what you're doing. Whereas deliberateness is when you take control of circumstances. I think that's how I'm kind of seeing it. Which on the face of it seems to be contrary to Thoreau's idea of deliberately. Where I'm trying to make sense of that is that when he says he moves to the woods because he wants to live deliberately, I'm guessing that he didn't want to spend his whole time consciously thinking about, well, maybe he did actually. I guess he didn't want to spend his whole time being very carefully conscious of every action he was making and of every tree he was looking at. Although he may well have been, actually, I'm saying this, but I know he did spend a lot of time actually looking at details and talking about details of the environment. So maybe that was part of it. But I think it's basically, I think that deliberateness, that highly conscious, controlled regarding of the environment is really a prelude to a wish to go beyond that, or to initiate an engagement as opposed to a spectatorship of the environment. So living deliberately in Thoreau's terms, I think, isn't about spending all your time weighing up the possibilities of which path to walk on through the woods, or which particular tree to rest your eyes on for a while, or any of that kind of stuff. I think it's about possibly using those techniques of deliberation and purposiveness to construct an appropriate way of being, to take hold of those things, of those mechanisms of engagement, so that they become part of one's own repertoire, so that the tasks associated with that, the tasks associated with walking through paths and using an axe to chop sticks and writing, indeed, are tasks in which one can fully engage oneself in a way that has kind of that is a result of the deliberation, not a way out of it, or not an opposite to it. It's not reflective in that sense, or it's only reflective to the extent that it creates conditions for the kind of maximum engagement, maximum grip, if you like. And here I'm just reminded, and this is kind of second strand of what I wanted to talk about, but I don't think I'll be able to get to it here, is to do with mindfulness and kind of occupying not the woods in a way which is deliberate, not living deliberately in the forest, but kind of living deliberately in one's own body, in one's own sensory motor system. I mean, certainly one of the things that I do, I'm slightly sheepish to talk about this, is many times during the day I place careful attention, kind of micro meditations, if you like, on various actions that I do with my body. So I place full attention on where I'm putting my foot, for example, as I take a step, or I deliberately focus on what my hands are doing as I reach over and touch something, or the angle in which I turn my head, or I think about my breathing very carefully at that moment. And I probably do it hundreds, if not thousands of times a day, that kind of thing, which I know sounds really nuts. But for me, that's a kind of, I guess I just don't have time to do Vipassana meditation, really. But for me, it's a kind of mindfulness exercise in which one goes to one's body in order to live deliberately, to do those actions deliberately, to deliberate about them, to do them in full consciousness. But the purpose isn't so that you do those things in full consciousness. The purpose, the goal or the desire is to find an engagement with those processes, so that so all that touching and stepping and reaching and turning and breathing and balancing and all the other things that you do with your body, having gone through a deliberative process, can function more effectively within processes of engagement. At least that's my kind of rationale for it.